I guess everyone dreams of having a best friend. Someone you can chat with about anything and everything, share secrets with, and have a blast together. Hey there, I'm Ella, and I had a friend like that when I was a kid. Dean and I rode bikes, built a treehouse, and hung out at my parents' bakery. Oh, and our bakery was actually known as the best in town. Me and Dean, we'd help out my folks a lot and hand out our special cookies on the street. One day, as a sign of our friendship, Dean suggested we swap friendship bracelets with our names on them. Friends forever? Friends forever. As we held hands, my heart started beating faster. I couldn't help but give Dean a peck on the cheek. That's when it hit me. He meant more to me than just a friend. Once, Dean's parents made the big move to another city, taking him with them. It was tough saying goodbye, but we promised to keep in touch. At first, everything was going well, but then Dean became more distant. Eventually, we lost touch. It hurt me so much. However, I still couldn't forget about Dean and kept wearing the friendship bracelet with his name. I'm in high school now, and after school, I help out at my family's bakery. I've got a real weakness for sweets, so I've been diving into pastries like there's no tomorrow for quite some time now. And let me tell you, it's definitely taken a toll on my body. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really happy with how I look these days, and it's really getting worse. At school, I'm basically an outcast. The only person I really hang out with is Oscar, who's a bit of a nerd. I was used to this way of life, but one day, everything changed. My day started off like any other. I popped into the bakery and had a fresh croissant for breakfast. Then I arrived at school and noticed my classmates chatting about something. They're transferring a guy from another school. I saw him in the parking lot. He's so cute. I heard he's really into fashion design and even finished some fancy courses. I didn't care about the new guy until I saw him. Have you ever felt like the earth is literally slipping away from under you? That's exactly what I felt at that moment. Say hi to Dean Collins. He's the new kid in our class. As I gazed at Dean, I couldn't believe my eyes. His trendy clothes looked so good on his fit body. Dean had changed and somehow became even more handsome than before. Nice to meet you all. Dean sat down without so much as a nod in my direction. It's like he didn't even recognize me. After class, I walked out of the room along with everyone else. Suddenly, someone pushed me. I lost my balance and awkwardly fell right on the floor. Almost instantly, I heard sneering snickering from all around. Hello, with your grace, you have to try ballet. My eyes were filled with tears. I felt so ashamed. I wish I could just disappear, but then Dean leaned over to me and reached out his hand. I thought I was dreaming. He helped me up and looked at me with surprise. Ella, is that really you? In a moment, he noticed the bracelet on my wrist and became even more surprised. You're still wearing it? My cheeks betrayed me with a flush of red. All eyes were on us and I felt really awkward. I need to go. As my classmates were laughing, I pushed through the crowd and dashed towards the exit. When I got home, I looked at myself in the mirror and burst into tears. Dean had become so cool, so athletic, not like me at all. Later in the evening, I went to help out at my parents' bakery. After my shift, my usual treat awaited me. A plate of my favorite cookies and a mug of cappuccino. My hands instinctively reached for the plate, but I quickly stopped myself. No carbs for me. Honey, what's wrong? Starting today, I'm going on a diet. My parents exchanged a puzzled glance. If that's what you really want, sure thing. Just don't go too extreme with it. The next day, I went to school with Oscar. On the way, I told him about my plan to lose weight. Is this all because of that new guy? You like him, huh? I bristled and looked away. Not at all. Oscar let out a meaningful chuckle, but didn't bother arguing with me. And then, something happened that completely turned my world upside down. Right before class, Dean unexpectedly came up to me. Hey there! You took off so fast yesterday, I didn't get a chance to catch up with you. I got so flustered when I saw my crush that I was tongue-tied and didn't know what to say to him. Hey, remember the good times we had as kids? We had a blast, didn't we? Well, actually, you stopped answering my calls first. Dean looked sad as he explained that his parents sent him to a sports camp that summer. It was up in the mountains and there was no reception there. When he came back to town, he couldn't find my contacts. That's why he didn't call me anymore. Hoping you're cool with us hanging out again? Of course. Hey, Dean, come join us. Stop hanging out with the weirdos. Dean smiled at me and winked. See you later. When he went over to his classmates, they started laughing loudly about something. I was so shocked by what Dean said that I didn't even notice Oscar nearby. You shouldn't trust him. He's just messing with you along with his buddies. I told Oscar to mind his own business and headed to class. All day long, I couldn't shake the thought of Dean. Could it be that I actually mean something to him? As usual, I dropped by the bakery in the evening, and to my delight, there was a pleasant surprise waiting for me. Dean was already seated at a table, waving eagerly as I walked in. Dean, it's wonderful to see you. You've grown up so much. Today, my parents gave me the day off. Dean and I were sitting at the table, chatting away just like old times. Dean was munching on croissants without a care in the world while I struggled through my third cup of coffee. Well, your baking is just as amazing as ever. By the way, why aren't you eating? I had to lie that I wasn't hungry, even though just looking at the croissant made my mouth water. It was like it was pleading with me, saying, "Eat me, eat me." In the end, my power of will proved stronger and I was really proud of myself. But then my mom came over and showed me a bunch of empty wrappers. Ella, did you eat all the cookies? We need to complete the order, but all we have left are crumbs. I was literally fuming with outrage. That wasn't me! Judging by the look, it seemed like Mom didn't believe me. I felt terribly embarrassed in front of Dean, but he unexpectedly had my back. Maybe someone else ate the cookies? Mom shrugged in confusion and went back to the kitchen. Since that evening, Dean and I have grown closer and started hanging out more often. We rented bikes and rode them around like we did when we were kids. One time, Dean took me rock climbing. I can't do this. You've got this. Come on. I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of Dean, so I decided to start climbing up. It was tough at first, but I soon got the hang of it. Next thing I knew, I was at the top of the cliff. I actually did it! At school, everyone was shocked that the cool new guy was hanging out with me. Walking beside the most popular guy in school made me feel like a queen. One day, Dean invited me over to his place. There, he showed me a few dress sketches. Guess what? There's this fashion design competition coming to our town soon. The winner gets to practice in one of France's top fashion houses. That's awesome! You've got to participate. You're my muse. He covered my hand with his and I melted like butter on a hot biscuit. Ever since Dean came around, life got a whole lot more exciting. But Oscar was always a buzzkill, saying Dean and his pals were laughing at me behind my back. One time, Oscar and I got stuck cleaning up the chem lab after class. Some girls hung around and I managed to overhear their chat. I think Dean is just using her. Like, does anyone actually find her interesting? Right, like what did they even talk about? How to knead dough? My classmates giggled nastily, but their words hardly bothered me. I was confident that Dean genuinely liked me. Now you see that I'm right? Nonsense, they're just jealous of me. After classes, I swung by the bakery and once again my parents were on my case. Ella, we don't mind you eating pastries. You don't have to take it without asking. What? But I don't eat this stuff anymore. Enough. If you keep this up, we'll lose all our customers. As punishment, you'll be helping us late tonight. I tried to explain, but my parents wouldn't listen to anything I had to say. It's just so unfair. I was in the kitchen depositing eclairs when I suddenly heard this strange rustling from above. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then I heard it again. It was like someone was scraping their nails against glass. It freaked me out. My parents had already gone, leaving me all alone in the bakery. Gathering my courage, I grabbed a mop and headed up to the attic. It was so dark up there and I couldn't feel around for the light switch. Ah! Startled, I let out a scream and then quickly found the switch. When the light came on, I looked at the windowsill and saw... Before I continue with the story, please give this video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe to the Private Diary channel. When the light came on, I looked at the windowsill and saw... I was shocked. Turns out, the creature who startled me was just a regular raccoon. It was holding a cookie in its little paws with crumbs scattered all over the floor. You sneaky little thief! I got closer, but the raccoon didn't even think about running away. It looked at me with big eyes, as if begging for more treats. The little raccoon was so adorable that it melted my heart. I didn't tell my parents anything and started secretly feeding it. After a while, I decided to hop on the scale. Wow, I've lost 11 pounds! Those numbers on the scale instantly boosted my self-esteem. Things with Dean were moving along fast, but Oscar was a real buzzkill. He just wouldn't stop saying Dean and I weren't a thing. Eventually, I couldn't stand him anymore, so I cut him off. Later that day, Dean invited me to an outdoor movie theater. It was absolutely magical. We were watching a romantic comedy and eating popcorn. Then, out of the blue, our fingers accidentally touched. I looked at Dean and he kissed me. As we walked back from the theater, Dean held my hand tight. It was even more romantic than the movie we watched. Walking up to my place, we noticed a truck parked not far away. Some people I didn't know were unloading things from it and carrying them into the neighboring house. A girl was standing there. I couldn't help but notice her slender figure. Seeing us, she waved and came closer. Turns out she was my new neighbor. Hi, I'm Leah. Nice to meet you. You've got a great figure. Yeah, I admit, I felt a bit jealous of Dean checking her out, but she was super friendly and nice to me. The next day, Leah came to school with me. She easily fit in with the school crowd and made friends. During lunchtime, Leah sat with Dean and me at our table. You guys are awesome! Ella, I'm so glad you're my neighbor. At first, I was wary of her and couldn't help but be a bit jealous of Dean. But over time, Leah and I became pals. She came across as a good person, and I was thrilled to have a new friend. Every evening, I used to climb up into the attic of the bakery and feed this little raccoon. I named him Rocket after that character from Guardians of the Galaxy. I loved talking to him. Rocket would look at me with those knowing eyes. It's as if he understood everything I said. Gradually, I went from being a school outcast to a girl with a cool boyfriend and friends. I also started to feel confident and stopped worrying about my body. But then something happened. One day, Oscar approached me after school. We hadn't talked for a while, only bumping into each other during lessons. Dean is lying to you. He's seeing Leah and everyone is making fun of you. Of course I didn't believe him. That nerd really gets on my nerves. Why do you have to make up all this stuff? If you don't believe me, you can swing by Leah's place. She and Dean are always hanging out there after school. Oscar's words really got me thinking. Lately, I've noticed that Dean has been disappearing somewhere. I decided to have a chat with him and clear things up. After school, I caught up with him as he was leaving and asked him if he wanted to hang out. Sorry, I'm really busy. Let's do it another time? Dean's behavior got me suspicious. I didn't want to snoop around, but I had no other choice. Oscar and I left school together. When we got to Leah's house, I saw her going in with Dean. Told you so. That doesn't mean anything. I snuck closer to home and peeked through the window on tiptoes. What I saw shocked me. Dean had his arm around Leah's waist and was showering her with compliments again. Leah, you look absolutely stunning. You're just what I need. Everything went dark before my eyes. The pain and betrayal cut deep, hitting me harder than memories from my childhood. Oscar was right. Dean had been lying to me all along, laughing behind my back, and I was just too blind to see it. The moment I walked into the house, I laid it out all for both of them. When I looked at Dean, I could hardly hold back my tears. It was a mistake to trust you again. Ella, wait. He wanted to say something, but I wasn't in the mood to hear this. I ripped off my bracelet, tossed it at his feet, and walked away. Outside, Oscar was waiting for me. He walked me home and stayed with me while I cried into the pillow. Don't worry, I'm here for you. We're still pals. Thanks for being there to set me straight. I'm sorry I've been ignoring you for so long. The next day, I decided to skip school. Dean and Leah called me multiple times, but I didn't pick up. In the evening, I swung by the bakery, but not to help my folks out. Loading up a plate with pastries, I headed up to the attic. Rocket greeted me right away, extending his little paws toward me. Here you go, buddy. While the raccoon was munching on the cookie, I was opening up to him about my feelings and indulging myself in pastries. I'll never be as slim as Leah anyway. I'm gonna eat as much carbs as I want. After finishing his treat, Rocket the raccoon nuzzled my knees and let out an encouraging purr. Good thing you'll never betrayed me. I skipped school for a few days. I made a fake doctor's note online and forged the signature. The teachers thought I had a cold, and Oscar had my back on this lie. One day after class, we met in the park, and he filled me in on the latest gossip. I hate to break it to you, but just spill it. It can't get any worse. Dean and Leah hang out together all the time and hold hands. Today, I saw them kissing in the parking lot. I dug my nails into my palms and bit my lip hard. Gotta hold back the tears. Enough! Dean isn't worth it! My made-up illness lasted almost a week. My parents had no clue. In the morning, I'd sneak off to the park, roam around town, or hang out with Rocket. The weekend came and my mom roped me into a full-day shift at the bakery. I was feeling pretty low. Once again, I felt ugly and like nobody cared about me. Out of the blue, the doorbell chimed. What are you doing here? Leah looked angry and determined. What are you doing here? Ella, you're being so silly and mean to Dean. I was totally in disbelief. Are you seriously accusing me of that? You and Dean were just making fun of me. It wasn't like that at all. Dean just asked me to be his model. Leah explained that Dean was serious about preparing for the fashion designer competition. The organizers laid down some strict rules, meaning the clothes had to be made in a really small size. Leah happened to have just the right body size for it. So that's what he meant when he said, "You're just what I need"? Of course! We didn't get a chance to explain anything to you. You just came at us with accusations and stormed off. At first, I felt relieved and happy, but then shame crept in. Dean told me about this contest, and I totally forgot about it. I was only thinking about myself. Dean was hoping you'd at least come to our show, but it looks like you're not even ready yet. How was I supposed to know when it was going down? My words really surprised Leah. And then I discovered another unpleasant thing. Last night, Dean asked Oscar to give me a ticket for the show, but I never got it. Why would Oscar do that to me? He said he saw you kissing Dean. That's total nonsense. Oscar made it all up. With only an hour left until the show, I closed up the bakery and Leah and I headed to the venue. Once there, I took a seat among the spectators while Leah went up to the makeup room. Eventually, the spotlights above the stage flickered to life. The host introduced the first contestant. When Leah appeared on stage, I was speechless. The dress Dean made was absolutely stunning. Leah looked like a fairy tale princess in it. I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy, but I immediately pushed those thoughts aside.
Dean dedicated this look to his girlfriend Ella.
At first, I thought I misheard something. I just couldn't believe Dean did that. But when he stepped on stage and our eyes met, it all made sense. I looked at him and saw all the awesome moments we've shared together. Dean ended up taking first place. The prize was handed to him by a rep from a French fashion label. As soon as Dean came down from the podium, I dashed over to congratulate him. I'm sorry for ever doubting you. You dedicated your work to me. No one has ever done anything like that for me before. Please forgive me too. I got so caught up in the competition that I barely made time for you. He pulled a bracelet out of his pocket and slid it back onto my wrist. Together forever? Together forever. It's like I've gone back to being a kid again. But this time, me and Dean were more than just friends. We kissed and I felt like I was on top of the world. The next day, Dean and I walked to school together. There, he confronted Oscar and got him to come clean. Turns out, Oscar was jealous of me and scared of being the lonely outsider. He even asked some classmates to help him. Oscar promised to help them with the test. Thanks to Dean, I learned to love and accept myself. He admitted that he's into girls with curves and a healthy appetite. And I confessed to my parents about the raccoon living in our attic. They freaked out at first, but when they saw Rocket and his big puppy dog eyes, they softened up too. So, Dean and I took him to the vet and got him all his shots. Ever since then, Rocket's been the star of our bakery. His adorable face is now on our logo. And business? It's booming, and Rocket loves posing for photos with the customers. Dean's off to France to study fashion design. I'm tagging along soon since it's almost vacation time. Me and Leah, we're besties now. No more jealousy from me. We both rock in our own ways. How do you feel about your looks? Let me know in the comments.